Hi, I'm Dr. Enid Conley. I am an Arawak of the United Confederation of Taino People. My grandmother was Apache, but I will have to look into that, have to maybe do DNA to find my relatives from my grandmother's side. And I'm registered with my father's tribe, which are the Arawaks. I am a mother, a daughter, and currently I am a professor of criminal justice at Johnson & Wales University in North Miami campus. I have long experience with criminal justice. I'm a retired police officer. I have 4 grown adult children, who are in the field, law enforcement and corrections. As a Native American woman, I find that the lessons that I teach to my learners, my students, all encompass not just what I know as a practitioner, as a law enforcement officer, but my spirituality. I believe in teaching truth, and one of the things that I was sharing with the wonderful interviewer earlier is that as a people, we have been so watered down, relabeled, and minimized that we're lost. Our people who happen to speak Spanish because they were forced to speak Spanish are now referred to as Latinos, which is preposterous because they're not a Latin language, a dead language, or Hispanics, which is a very offensive term. It is a shortened version of Islas de los Españoles, in other words, property island of the Spaniards, which was coined by Columbus. So our relatives who speak Spanish are basically still referred to as property islanders of Columbus. 1492 has never really ended. It's just metamorphosized into confusing our people. The term I like to use is ethnic cleansing, and not in the Hollywood term where they're talking about genocide. Genocide and ethnic cleansing are 2 different things. Ethnicity is a social construct, basically, which means, the actual term, we as human beings construct things to make ourselves identify. A social construct can be anything, a country. We identify as a landmass, basically made up by people. The term Hispanic, a social construct today, almost trying to say there is a race, even though we can't DNA it, but it is not. It's a social construct labeling people who speak the dialect of Spanish, because most of them do not speak Spanish from Spain. As a scholar, it worries me because our people are so watered down. They don't know who they are, where they're going. They can't even identify each other when they see each other in the streets. I see our people from the south of the border, Mexico and below, that are Native Americans. Most don't know where they're coming from or where they're going. They have lost not only their identity as natives and earth people, but it's been replaced with identities of slavery, and we don't recognize that. And those who have maintained their Native American spirituality and culture are constantly, and especially in the South, being attacked, being called communist. I don't know if you've been seeing what's happening in Colombia. It's horrendous. Our people in the islands are either gone, watered down, or hiding still somewhere, or have completely been immersed into a culture that is not theirs. Most people don't understand that Caucasians and Africans were brought here after 1492 by Columbus, and he island hopped because he was taking over, actually stealing. That's about. I'm a criminal justice practitioner. I'm a retired police officer. He was a thief, a human trafficker, and a thief. What we today would classify as a rapist, human trafficker, organized crime at its best. He was not even Italian, and it's still being taught in schools. When I was young, I was taught that he was a Spaniard. Then somewhere along the line something changed. Nobody questioned it. It was actually a passage in one of his writings that, by the way, were either in Latin or in Spanish, referring to that his heart was in Genoa. Nobody investigated the change. Nobody went back, and not until recently where they actually triangulated all the information, which was his handwriting with handwriting analysis, DNA study of his brother's remains as well as Columbus's. They actually found his house in Spain, and they did an even in-depth, more study on him. You still have people that are calling him Italian. I don't know why. I wouldn't I don't know why the Italian community would want to claim him. He was a horrible person. I don't even know where to start. You know, as human beings, we're all the same race. We're all Homo sapiens. But there's only 4 subspecies of that we can DNA, which are black, white, American Indian, and Asians. We did not come from Asians. That's another stereotype, another way to minimize us and dehumanize us. The Bering Strait theories. Oh goodness, I can get on that all day. It's been proven, disproven, and it brings us back to the Kennewick man, which there was a great debate when the remains were found. Oh, it's got to be an Asian. No, it's a white man. Thank goodness for the Department of the Interior. They came in, they did a DNA test, and it was a Native American. So we've always been here in the Western Hemisphere. And I reach out to my Native brothers and sisters, and please recognize that just because someone speaks a different language doesn't make them less of who we are as people. They are our brothers and sisters south of the border. They have been enslaved since 1492, or what was started in the islands. But the Spanish, they are still in Central and South America, places where if you don't speak Spanish and you speak your native language, you're beaten. That's not brought up. Nobody speaks about this. As a scholar, as I feel very much as a warrior woman, I mean, I paid the price as a law enforcement officer when I got injured. But I can bring it now to the classroom and the scholar and reach out to my people everywhere from the north and the south. If they speak French, doesn't make them less Native American. If they speak Spanish, doesn't make them less Native. Think about what's going on with immigration and the focus on the south. That's a little disgusting because it's our people that are being picked up and told they don't belong in their own land. Yet there's little focus on the north where we know for a fact there's large groups of Muslims, for lack of other words I can think of right now, that are not friendly to us, and they're here illegally. You don't hear about that. So you know, you just see the prejudice continuing, the psychological warfare on everybody. When I hear a Native American refer to another Native as a Hispanic or a Latin, that kills me, because you know we're reinforcing 1492. When I hear a Native call themselves Latin, that kills me, reinforcing 1492. We are not the property of Spain, none of us, not from the north, the south. We're not the property of France. We are not the property of England. Hopefully as a people, we can unite, educate, and spread the knowledge and become one again, and not for any evil purpose, but at least to bring back our traditions and evolve back to where we were at one point. We were, even though education claims were not, pretty advanced. I mean, if you think of the Aztecs and the Incas, they had self-sufficient cities, running water. We've had it here in the north. And there's much I could say. I don't know if I have enough time, but I want to share that with everyone out there. Please remember who you are, where you came from, and just because someone speaks a different language, they're not different from us. It's us.
Can you talk a little bit about, there's a movie that I watched, it's called Walkout. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but in the movie it talks about like a lot of the movement in LA with a lot of the students there, and a lot of the students, it was the first time when I found out that students were beaten for speaking Spanish in public schools in Southern California. And I heard you talk about the connection of like still that's not happening in some places, not maybe in the U.S., but in other places. What do you think would be the connection between that happening in the U.S. with other countries, and also the connection with, you know, boarding schools? Because when I heard about that, that was the first time anybody ever told me that people, I mean, I knew about indigenous language, but I didn't know that there were people being beaten for speaking Spanish in public schools.
And I find that fascinating because Spanish is a European language spoken by Caucasians who at one point attacked us, and whoever they could catch and enslave us did. It doesn't surprise me because we're still seen, and I don't think it's the language issue at this point, we're still seen as less than human. You know, when you pull everything together and look at it, it's beyond the Spanish language. Is what they see is us, brown people running around, and I don't care how you look at it, we're still a threat. This is our land. It was stolen from us. The twisting and contorting education and making it Euro-Western doesn't make it less of a fact. Biology, DNA, the truth is out there. You know, you can twist and turn as much as you want, the truth, but you can't change it. I always tell people, well, if you really think there's a Hispanic race, DNA it, show it to me. They're quiet. You can't DNA a language, you can't DNA a culture, but we are still here.
Can you talk a little bit more about the Native American community here in South Florida? And I know you were talking a little bit about earlier how you were involved with some of the powwows in this area too, and just talk a little bit, touch about that, because I think people don't hear about that. I think, I know from my experience, all I hear about when someone talks about Native or South Florida, they'll just say, oh, the Seminoles have the Hard Rock Casino there. And that's anybody maybe might hear of it. So if you could talk more in depth of what does that community look like, what does it feel like, you know, the connection that people have.
Unfortunately, in South Florida, we as a people are very watered down. We do have a lot of natives here, many walking around that have no idea they're Native American. They believe they're a Colombian, a Venezuelan. They're really, really ethnically cleansed. Again, not using the term, the Hollywood term, but their whole culture has been replaced by a European slave mentality, because a lot of our people, I guess they just didn't have the education, didn't have somebody reach out. I don't know. I don't have the answer, which I did. I do spend a lot of time educating people. What's watered down? We have the Seminoles and the Miccosukees here. The Seminoles ended up in Florida during the wars because they came from Oklahoma, and the Miccosukees migrated during the wars as well from Virginia. And not that I'm saying they don't belong here, because this is all our land. But of Arawaks and some of the ones that were originally in Florida, of the Calusas and stuff, we're probably walking around, or I know I'm here, but there are many who are walking around that may not have an idea who they are until something, I guess, it'll eventually come to where governments are going to DNA us, and then you can't hide it anymore, because that's going to come up, you know, when they start identifying and I guess putting a description out for somebody. We're living in a very sad world, a very contorted, especially for us. People will insult us not thinking. Saturday we had a group of parents come in for a fly-in, and I had a woman come up to me and go, what kind of an Indian are you? And being polite, I'm a professor again, I wanted to ask her, what kind of a white woman are you? But they don't think when they talk to us. Wow, well, you guys know that, you're Native. What haven't you been told? I always have a good comeback to it, but I gotta keep that professionalism. It's sad. It's sad, even in my field as a criminal justice practitioner. I have to ask my students, if you're going to put out a BOLO, which means be on the lookout. You're going to put out a BOLO for a Hispanic? You looking for someone that may speak Spanish? What do they look like? The class is usually quiet. Well, we don't know. They'll start stereotyping. We can't do that. We have to fight back. We have to get rid of those labels that have been following us since 1492. I've kind of settled. I'm okay with someone calling me an Indian, okay. But other than that, oh, no. It just reinforces all the things that we as a people need to get rid of. We need to educate ourselves. We need to embrace our own people. We need to embrace our own educators, our own researchers. When I was researching for my dissertation, I have to say about 70% of the information that I found was wrong. And it was written by European, Euro-Westerners, by non-Indians. And it was a lot of work. I'm trying to undo as much as I can and putting together what I can, and I still work on that today and make it probably my life's work to go out there and educate people. What they get from it, I don't know, but I try.
One thing that I find amazing about you is that how you have this very strong woman's presence, and also carrying, like you said, that woman's warrior spirit. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about issues about being Native American women, just something that I constantly see is that a lot of Native American women will most likely experience abuse or domestic violence or rape in their lifetime more than any other ethnic group. And I think if they included other tribes too, like Canadian Indians, Indians from other countries in that within the U.S., the statistics would be higher.
Well, I can't consider them Canadian because when it comes to my people, I will not honor the European boundaries. I respect them because it is the laws we have today, and I believe in being law-abiding, but I will not honor them, my brothers and sisters from the North as well as the South. We have to educate ourselves. We have to unite. Our men are being poisoned with... I teach this in class too. You want good slaves, keep them drunk, drugged up, and dumb. And we have to stop that. We, as a people, our men have to be men again. And I'm not saying they're not out there, but, you know, biologically, men were designed to protect us. So something is very wrong when they attack us. Not that we can't protect ourselves, because we can. But something is very wrong when the man who's supposed to be there to protect you for survival of the species. Please don't misunderstand, because I'm a feminist. I'm an American Indian strong woman. But it's called survival of the species. Just like we as women need to protect other women and ourselves, because we will never survive as a people once our women are gone. Then what? When our women are gone, what? We're the mothers. Our men are being poisoned. Guys, you gotta clean up. You gotta walk that red road. Whether we come from the north or the south, and unite and stop this. Educate. You know, stop drinking. Stop drugging.
What are some of the best ways that you think for people to heal from that, since your background and what you've seen? Because I bet you've seen everything.
Oh, goodness.
And you've also probably seen, you know, the good with the bad. And you've seen probably people heal and change and transform their lives, and others not. What works? What you've seen?
Well, I've seen our people do amazing things when they heal. They go out and want to give back to the community, which is the best way of healing. And I've seen those that haven't healed well and fall into the depths of darkness, for lack of words, and drug up, drink, and do things they shouldn't do, and ruin their spirit. Best way to heal, I wish I had an all-encompassing answer. I wish I did. Again, I'm going to sound a little ethnocentric, but we need to heal ourselves. Go to other natives for healing. We need to stop exploiting our culture, selling our culture. Those who do, not everybody does. I'm, I think, very protective of us as a people, and I'm always vocal on things that I see, because we need to keep ourselves. It's okay to let people look as well as as long as they're educated and not reinforcing stereotypes. But we can't keep selling ourselves out. We can't do that. We have a beautiful culture, beautiful people, and healing can only come from within. I mean, it's the circle. You got to start from within, and within is our culture, our people. I believe in having Native centers for Native women. I'm not saying that other women are not important. That is not at all what I'm saying. But if we can start healing ourselves, we can help other women as well. We have to start with ourselves. Again, I'm going back to the internal part. I'm not saying, believe me, I've got 2 doctorate degrees. I've done a lot of, but that doesn't take the nativeness away from me, and it doesn't keep me from recognizing who I am, and it doesn't keep me from searching my own people. And I volunteer all the time at Florida Atlantic University for Native American Month. I've been volunteering for the last 4 years, mostly to make sure it's done right. Again, without trying to sound like a racist, or I wanted to see natives dancing. I didn't want to see non-natives getting up there wearing a costume, which is what it is. I wanted to see natives in traditional wear, educating the public. And that's why I became involved. And it's taxing. I do it every year. I volunteer, but I got to make sure. I got to be there. And when I give the opening ceremony, I talk about that. And you know, like I said, you always got somebody come up to you. My great-grandmother was a Cherokee Indian princess. That drives me nuts. Okay, you get to, because people also outside of the Native community are very confused because their culture had been stolen from them as well. And it's, I guess, easier to identify with something that's around you than to go search at another country or another landmass, I would say. I don't know, I wish, like I said, I educate people. Sometimes I come out as being a little bit rough, but I have to protect us. We all have to protect ourselves. I don't know if that makes sense.
So on a closing note, I hear you say a lot about healing and what we need to do as just human beings in general, like everyone. Can you share with me your vision that you have for a much bigger, better world of where, instead of where we're at right now?
Oh, my vision? Oh, wow. My vision of a bigger and better world is for our people to unite. Go back to some of the traditional spirituality and culture. It doesn't mean that you have to move out of your house or not have running water. If that's what you want to do, fine. If not, that doesn't mean that at all. Remember, we used to have running water at one time, too. It means embracing our spirituality and not embracing, again, you have choices, but that's my world. The spirituality of others, intoxicating spiritualities, negative spiritualities, helping our own, hire other natives, you know, open native schools. My dream would be to have a Native American university. I would love that. Not that we don't have any good ones, but I mean, I'm talking about from having holistic lighting and buildings to faith-based, and I say faith-based so we could understand each other with language. Would be more spirituality-based, because if you say faith-based, then you get government funding. But a Native spirituality-based university for Natives only. And I know that would probably be a problem unless you're on Native land, because then you can tell other people, sorry, that's ours. And I'm not trying to exclude others. That's not it at all. I'm trying to reinforce us as a people. Once we're healthy as a people, then we can include others. But the more we water ourselves down, the worse it's going to be. And again, I embrace other cultures and other people, but we need to have our own, I guess, Indian time.
Well, thank you so much, Tina. This has been awesome, and also I'm just ecstatic and just glad to be here, and I'm really glad that we were able to connect through Kenny Frost.
I love Kenny. Kenny, I love you.
Thank you again, Kenny, for connecting us. So thank you.
Thank you.